challenge would be to get them to go 1
I have so many comparisons. We ate that ate the plate, empty. The plate is
I didn't want to be here. This is better. What if we just mess with it?
How are you feeling? You got another one in you?
Huh?
You got another one in you or no?
I'm still filming. Or I stopped it and then I started up again.
Why I'm filming is I'm not putting it on the internet or anything like that. Is I am, for example, they hired me this summer to train teachers 2 weeks at Walton, who are going to become AP teachers, and at the University of Georgia. So I go there, and then a lot of them don't know about Socratic seminar, believe it or not, and so I show them, like before you write an essay, if you get students to talk it out and listen to each other, I always see that the essays are much better, you know. So that's why I'm doing that. Ready?
Yep.
I'll kind of go off what they said to start off. Soccer is corrupt, but it's also fun. So like, everybody pours their heart out when you're on the field, but like, the people in the society around it sometimes can make it bad. Like for example, the World Cup going on in Brazil was a terrible time for them to be Brazil. Not very good. But the heart and the happiness and the joy that came from it, that was really good. So like that kind of goes with what David said with the double edged.
I kind of want to go talk a little bit about what Kenny said about like the World Cup during Brazil. I found out that Brazil renovated the stadium for the World Cup, and it was like $400 million that they spent. But then they only used it like 2 more times. We was like the Olympics and another tournament. But then after that, like right now it's just used for a parking lot. So like they spend a lot of like, there is, I think in source B it says like around 9 people died renovating the stadium. And they spent a lot of money, which could have used for a lot of, like, we know Brazil is, I don't want to say it's a poor country, but there's a lot of poor people living in there. And I feel like they could have used some money to, like, help all of those people that are, like, you know, like, every day just trying to survive and to find something that they, like, they could do so they gain a little bit of money. And I was going to talk also about like, not only does the World Cup, like Kenny said, like yeah, football is fun and all of that, and it brings a lot of people together, but the World Cup itself, it's corrupted. I was talking with my dad about the World Cup, and he told me that when they were selecting the country for the 2018 World Cup, Russia and the US were in a little bit of fighting because the US wanted to host the World Cup again. And because the FIFA ended up choosing Russia, what US decided to do was just expose all the corruption going on in the FIFA. And so like all the directors were fired, and now they're in a jail here in the US. And sure, well, that is a good thing. What that means is like the US is just trying to fight to host a tournament that yes, it is going to bring a growth in the economy, but is it really worth it when you know that like there is a lot of people here in the US who need money to like survive every day? So when you think about it, it's like, is the World Cup really worth it? Like sure, it brings a lot of economy, like you have a lot of, like I said, like there's a lot of economy growing up and all there's economic growth and all of that, but it's not good, like you're not doing well for the people. Because most of the time, it's not the people itself that go to the World Cup, but most it's just stories around the world. So it's like, is it truly worth it?
I really don't think hosting the World Cup is worth it. Like, we've talked about the cultural aspects of it and how important that part is, but it can't overpower or overshadow, like you were saying, the deaths that occur, the economic downfall that there is, and I mean, in the end, it's just buildings that are there. I mean, you can see it with the Olympics and all that.
I want to talk about how, like, the argument that, like, the money could be spent better elsewhere. And, like, I agree, like, there's always people that could use the money more. wasting all this money on a stadium that's gonna be used just a few times is a waste. But I don't like the argument that like, well, your money could be like better spent elsewhere, because to an extent we're all kind of guilty of that. Like we all buy stuff that probably overpriced and stuff, and like you could use the same argument like, oh, why aren't you donating that to people? So like, well, it is much more money for a stadium. I don't like that argument. I feel like it's too broad.
I think that's a good point, and that gave like a different perspective of looking at it. And I believe that we're all guilty of doing it, and just like Sierra was talking about how like we're all guilty of going to Chick-fil-A and all the stuff that's wrong with Chick-fil-A. So that just connects this World Cup thing to like a much broader thing about how we just decide to look at things with different perspectives and make our decisions.
I mean, I agree with that. I think it's just finding a different purpose for those buildings. I can't remember who said it, but they said that it was like I think he said it, the one in Brazil is now being used as a parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, those facilities are huge, and sure we use them for like, I don't know, severe weather, like, you know? Yeah. But there are other uses for them. I mean, I think if people just find a way to utilize that, then there wouldn't be such a disaster with the more, I guess, economic side of hosting the World Cup.
So going with that would help the economy too. Like if after they make the World Cup, they make a plan of saying, okay, we're gonna turn this place into like a place where people can host festivals. Like that would be good. Like especially a big place like that, it can host a lot of people, have the biggest artists. Like that would be good. You just have to. I just feel like Lexi and Sammy said, you just need to turn those the stadiums into like good things and make this stuff out of it. Not only is it going to be good for the people or bring them together for the festival or whatever, it's going to be good for the economy of the country.
So actually, I think the World Cup is helpful for countries that have money. Like in Source B, they said that after Greece went bankrupt, I feel like a world superpower like France or maybe not China, but like the US, I feel like, they wouldn't, it's not like we're already not wasting money, because taxpayers, they do have to pay for like the stadiums already, so I guess it wouldn't be a difference. And like Lexi was saying with like the money, it wasn't like if the World Cup wasn't held, they were going to be helping us to do it. So, it was either, most times it's corrupt, so they're probably either taking the money or, it wasn't going to be used on people to help them anyways. And I think for like bigger countries, it's actually helpful to bring tourists, like the park in Atlanta. It's like people still go there and do like tourist things. And then for the Olympics, they have like a company, or not a company, they have a privately owned thing where they pay for the buildings for the Olympics, but the renovation, they don't pay for that, but they do pay for it.
I think that it's worth it depending on the country, because like I remember like 8th grade Georgia studies, we were talking about how like we hosted the Olympics and it helped a lot with like building infrastructure and stuff, and so that was good for us, but that's because we're the United States. For like countries, and I remember Argentina stuck out to me, because we were reading about how like Argentina hosted the World Cup, but it was against like a background of like government corruption, and so it's like that wasn't good for them because they just put on a show. But for us, we genuinely benefited from that. So I would say that it really is just like a case by case kind of situation.
And it's also interesting that there's like when we were given a choice for the prom, there's literally barely any articles that have the opposing view. They're all just negative mostly. So, and then the one that has the view that benefits is just about diversity and like not economic stuff.
I forgot to mention this earlier, but I also found out that in Brazil during the 2014 World Cup, the Brazil economies did grew up a little bit, but it was while the tournament was going on, but then it only lasted 32 days. So like a lot, like they were saying, yeah, I feel like the FIFA should just choose like big countries that know that they're gonna like generally benefit from it, rather than like countries that are just gonna have like that little time of enjoyment, if you would say so. You know. So.
And also for the article that mentioned like the person who's doing the investigation, Jennings or whatever his name was, Andrew, that was just annoying. I'm not sure if it was just me, but like no one cares, no one wants to read 4 books on why FIFA is corrupt. Like if you don't like it, then don't watch it, don't give them your money, but don't write 4 books about like why FIFA is corrupt. Like literally no one cares. It's not that serious reading anything like that, I don't think. 4 books.
What do you think of soccer yourself, personally? Yeah.
I don't like sports, so I don't watch any of that. I don't know. I don't really have an opinion. I don't care.
Go into that. That's actually a good one. Go into that. Why not sports? I'm not talking about playing sports. I'm talking about watching sports.
I mean, I don't ever understand it. Like, I don't know what's going on, like, ever. And I don't know, like, who to go for or who's good or anyone's name. So, yeah, I just don't watch it.
I feel like sports can just be for the passion. Everybody knows the one dad that sits in front of their TV and like, go, go, go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's for the passion, it's for the love. I mean, everybody has to learn a sport at some point, and everybody, like, once you learn something, you start to grow and love it, just like we probably all did with something in our lives. So, I mean, yeah, while you may have the opinion of, okay, like, I don't understand it, it's always worth a try of learning, like, the passion.
Do you like watching sports, Mr. Roberto?
Certain sports, yes. Like, I don't know if that's these days. I don't know if that's the right word, but I'm engaged. Sometimes.
You're engaged?
No. No, I'm married.
Oh, you're married. Well, you were engaged, so technically you're engaged.
I was, and I'm actually gonna go see the place. Next 2 minutes.